Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel of Flute Artistry. In today's lesson I actually want to be talking about embouchure and actually how flute players get a sound out of their instrument, and actually I'll be breaking it up into 3 different videos. So my first video I'd actually like to talk to my beginner flute players, and basically we're just going to work on getting a sound out of our instrument, and so that way, just like most beginner students, they have issues where just like the sound is a little too airy. So what I'm going to do is actually give you some pointers to actually kind of help get it so that way you have that nice clear sound. In my second video, I want to actually, it's more aimed towards my intermediate kids, where so you've got your sound, just like you're playing your notes. And so what we're going to do is then actually start fine-tuning your embouchure. So we're going to actually start to add what's called inflation and resonance to our sound. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some exercises that we can do to help get you to where we need you to go with that. And then that brings me to my last video, which it's going to be aimed more towards our more advanced flute players and even up to your college level, which actually does embouchure exercises. And I'm actually going to touch on a little bit of the harmonic series and exercises that you can do to help get that embouchure relaxed and create that nice resonant sound that we're looking for whenever you hear a flute player play. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. So if you are a beginner flute player, in our last episode we talked about the different parts of the flute. So in this lesson, what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on our embouchure and getting a sound. So go ahead and take your head joint out of your case. And you'll notice that our embouchure piece right here, this is where we get our sound. And you notice that there's a little hole right here. And on one side of the hole, there's a little bit of smaller section of metal right here, and then on the opposite side is a little bit bigger piece of metal that's within this big circle right here. So the side that I actually want you to put to your chin and under your lips is the long side. So the short side should be in front of you. And of course, your long portion of your head joint, which then connects to the body of the flute, is going to be aimed towards your right side of your body. And then the smaller point, which is the top of your head joint, is aimed towards the left side of your body. So to get your sound, what you're going to do is this hole right in the middle, I want you to go ahead and actually put it in the center of your lips, right here. Then what I want you to do is take your head joint and then roll down with it, so it rests right beneath your lips. So the center, and then it rolls right down. Then what I want you to do is make what we call a 2 sound. So basically, what you're aiming for right here in the center of your lips is an oval shape that's going to create. So when we create that 2 sound, it's going to create a little bit of tightness right here, but it's also going to create an oval shape, which is what I want the opening of your lips to look like. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and create a 2 sound. And you can see when I'm playing that my opening to my lips looks like an oval shape. Now, what happens with a lot of players is when they do that sound, they get kind of like an airy sensation to it. And so really what that is that oval shape is actually too big. So it might sound something like this. So really it's just too much of an opening right here. So what I need you to do is actually just so with creating that 2 sound, you're actually keeping this portion closed, and then it opens your center right there. I'll try to get a little bit closer to the camera so that way you can see. All right, and then once we have that nice clear 2 sound, then what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to change that to a ta. So, and what that's going to do is that's actually going to create resonance with that sound. So here's the 2. And now I'm going to change that to a ta. you see what that did there? Not only did my sides loosen when I did that, but it also created a little bit of resonance, which is what we're looking for as we progress on in our flute playing. So some other things that may help. So if we're having issues with that, another thing that we can try is just for fun. You know how as kids, back in the day, or even if you've never taken a soda bottle and you've blown into it and you've gotten that sound. So one thing that you can try, and this is, of course, if you don't have a soda bottle, that's perfectly fine. But if you have one, just like one thing that may help create that sound, just take a soda bottle and practice the 2 sound. And what that's doing is basically you're steadying your air with getting it across and down. And this is a little bit bigger of a hole than your flute hole. So if you can get this in a clear sound, then I'm going to encourage you to then go ahead and go to your flute. The hole is going to be tinier again, but that's what we're looking for, is to create that sound on this. That's the 2 sound. Now if you're switching from the 2 to the ta, if it gets to be where you're getting, that sounds a little too airy, think of it as this. So basically, like a singer, whenever they're singing, they're not singing with their throat closed off like this. They're singing with a ta sound, and they're opening their throat when they do that. So when you're doing that ta sound, if you want to think of it kind of like you're swallowing an orange, where that orange is in your throat and you're doing the ta sound. And having that open area back there, that's going to help create that resonance that we're looking for. So that is part 1 of this video. If you're a beginner flute, that concludes this video. We'll go ahead and move on to part 2.